let him introduce himself.
Good evening, folks. Under Sheriff Smallwood of the Sutter County Sheriff's Department. Grateful to be here and looking forward to informing you on information and hopefully get some questions.
Hi, I'm Mike Ziegenmeyer, Sutter County Supervisor, District 3. Thank you very much.
Raj Gill, currently assigned to the Detective Division.
Good evening, Andre Lacan, Community Response Officer.
Okay, thank you. And before we get started, one of the things that I did want to share with everybody tonight, just for information purposes, that during the campaign, one thing that I felt strongly about was getting back out and being engaged in the community. And one of the commitments I made was to develop a community response team. And that is a team that is not on normal patrol duties. They have the ability to be flexible in their schedule, and they can go out and specifically respond to community problems, and I felt that was important. And so Andre was the first step in that, and we've since built on that. We now have a sergeant assigned to that unit. And then also last year, the board was kind enough to allow us to get 2 new positions within the Sheriff's Department. Those positions are community service officers, and that is something that was entirely new to the Sheriff's Department. Some of our neighboring agencies have those positions, and they work very successfully in the community. And so we modeled after that, and we have our 2 community service officers here tonight. So hopefully we'll be able to get the camera to pan over to them, and I think they're just going to briefly introduce themselves as well. So I will defer to Daisy and Paige.
Hi, I'm Daisy Becerra, Community Service Officer.
And I'm Paige Tarkey, and I'm also a Community Service Officer.
So nice to meet everybody.
They're actually usually not that shy. But they're there, part of their responsibilities being community service officers, they go out and they take what we call cold paper calls, or those are calls where there's not a suspect that's on scene or that it is not a crime in progress, but they do have the ability to go out and generate that report and begin that investigation. And then if they need help from one of our deputies on the street, they'll certainly call. But in addition to that, they have a lot of responsibilities as it pertains to developing neighborhood watch programs. Some of the things that I'm going to mention to you here in just a few seconds are things that they absolutely were instrumental in organizing. And so without them, we would probably be at a loss and certainly not providing the level of service that we're wanting to provide. So I'll just briefly give you some examples of some of the things that we've been doing in the Sheriff's Department. The first thing is we started a new video segment last month called 60 Seconds with the Sheriff. And what it's designed to do is to be a monthly video of me just spending about a minute or 2 giving our community an inside look to what goes on in the Sheriff's Department. Some of the stuff that we put on social media, the arrests and some of the community events, you folks certainly see those things, but there are other things that go on behind the scenes. And so the first installment of that was me talking about the grand jury report and some of the recommendations that they made and some of the things that we had already been doing to respond to that. And so I think that's going to be a benefit. One of the things that we're getting ready to record for our second installment of that is how to go onto our webpage and look up crime scene or crime statistics. So if you want to look and see what's going on in your particular neighborhood as it relates to some type of theft or perhaps traffic stops, things of that nature, you'll be able to do that. And you can run it by either beat, which is more kind of how we refer to our response areas, or you can refer to it by district. So if you're in District 3, you can certainly look that up. And it'll give you a map and it'll show you where the different things are occurring in your area that you live in. That is available now on our webpage, but we're going to do a video specifically showing everybody how that works and how to use that. The next thing that I wanted to mention is we have an event coming up, which again, our community response officers were instrumental in putting together, and that is National Night Out, which will be October the 6th. It's a Tuesday night. So for those of you that are familiar with National Night Out, that usually takes place in the month of August. However, due to COVID, it was canceled or postponed nationally. And so the date that was picked is October the 6th. So we're going to, instead of coming out to different, kind of block parties in the community, what we're going to do is we're going to host the party at the Sheriff's Department. And we're already kind of mapping out how we're going to do that while being able to maintain social distancing. We'll have masks and sanitizing stations on scene. And you're going to get to see a wide variety of things, whether it's our SWAT vehicles, search and rescue equipment, canine demonstration. All of those things are going to be there and available to you to look at and to ask questions of the officers that actually work in those areas. And so please put that on your calendar. We also have that advertised through our social media page as well. So that's going to be a real good event. We have some food trucks that'll be out that night. So there'll be lots to do and a lot of fun times. So please, plan on bringing your family down and just spending some time with us at the Sheriff's Department. It should make for a fun night. And I'm sure if you're like me, everybody could use a night out right now. The other thing that I wanted to mention that's also available through our social media pages is an event that we did last year that was widely successful, and that was the Shoot with the Sheriff event. And so that this year will be on October the 16th. There's no charge, but that is specific to our CCW holders that have their CCWs through Sutter County. It's an opportunity for us to kind of give back a little bit, get out with our CCW holders and, have some training and being able to interact a little bit on the range and just spend some quality time. So please look forward to that as well. And then lastly, I don't believe this is being advertised yet, but it's still in the works, is for Halloween, we will be doing a trunk or treat drive-through at the Sheriff's Department. We'll have vehicles set up and decorated. You'll be able to drive through our parking lot. We'll have candy and prizes for the little ones. We will be in costumes, and it'll be a good time. So as you see that advertised, please make a note of that and plan on swinging by and spending some time with us that night. So those are some of the kind of events that we have planned. And again, that's a lot going on at the Sheriff's Department, in addition to our daily operations that and the services we provide to the community. But as it relates to District 3, I just kind of wanted to share some statistical information with everybody so that the efforts of the Sheriff's Department out in your specific areas. And the one thing that I always like to tell people is, just because you don't see a patrol car doesn't mean we're not there. There are times that myself and even the undersheriff, we go out and we patrol those areas, but we have unmarked vehicles. And so everybody in our organization, from the sheriff all the way down through our patrol staff and our community service officers, are out on the streets trying to provide some level of service to keep our community safe. But we also recognize that it's a partnership with the community, and we rely on you to be our eyes and ears and to communicate with us. And so in looking at some of the data just before the meeting tonight, I was very glad to see a decrease in some of the numbers. And I think that primarily speaks to the partnership that we've created with our community. And, my hat's off to our community members. Please keep up the good work in communicating with us. So first, I will just share with you what we call Beat 4, which is Meridian. And so I looked at some statistical data going back to 2018, 2019, and then obviously 2020, which is not a completed calendar year as of yet. But I will tell you, in some of the key areas that we have to track and report to both the state and the federal government: assaults, burglaries, larceny, which is other types of theft, and then vehicle thefts. Meridian is down in every category, and in some cases down significantly, like in the area of burglary. In 2018, there were 7 total. Last year there were 2, and this year there are 2 to date. So pretty significant drop off, and we're glad to see that. Additionally, as it pertains to Meridian reports, phone reports that we were taking, these are calls for service that come into our dispatch center. These numbers do not necessarily reflect a written report by a deputy. These are just the calls that come in. And so beginning in 2018, there were 433. Those dropped to 303 in 2019. And then this year to date, we're at 251. So again, we see a decrease in those, and I think that's a good sign. This is also something that I think paints part of the picture, which is our proactivity out in those areas. These are actual stops made by deputies where they contact somebody on the street. And so in Meridian, 2018, there were 442 stops. We did see a drop off the following year at 365, and we're right around 260 this year. So, if I were looking at this and saw an area where we could certainly make some improvements, it would be in the number of contacts that we're making out in that area. But again, I think it's also consistent with the decrease in crime that we're seeing, so there might not be as many opportunities for us to make contact out there. So all good signs. I think things are going very well out in that particular community. So now looking at Sutter, the town of Sutter, again, those primary areas that we have to report on: assaults, burglaries, larceny, and then stolen vehicles. Assaults, there were 9 in 2018. We saw a pretty significant increase in 2019 to 23, but then again, year to date, there's only been 5. Same with burglaries. They were high, and we've seen a decrease every year. So far this year, there have been 6. Larcenies at their peak in 2018, there were 34 thefts out in the town of Sutter that were reported that we actually took reports on. That number year to date right now is 8. So again, a pretty significant decrease, and I'm very proud of those numbers. Stolen vehicles, again, 4. 2 last year, only 1 reported as of this year. So we're trending in the right direction in all of those areas. Calls for service, right now we're at 956 for the year to date. Last year, we were just a little over 1,300. So a decrease in our number of calls for service. And then proactive stops, again, this year, year to date, well over 1,000 proactive stops by our deputies out in that area, which is just a phenomenal job on their part. And so I'm really proud to see the level of proactivity. I'm proud to see that it's matching up with the decrease in crime. I think those things go hand in hand. And so, I think there's a lot of good work that's being done out there. I don't necessarily attribute that to me. I attribute that to the men and women that are working on the street. So when you see them, please thank them. Let them know that they're appreciated, because that goes a long way. And, everybody likes a good compliment, and our officers on the street like to feel appreciated. And so when you see them, just thank them, and they'll continue to do a great job for everybody. So there are some questions, but we'll get to those here in just a little bit. Right now, I'd like to defer to Supervisor Ziegemeyer. As everyone is aware, that is his district, and so I'll allow him to share any thoughts that he might have.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I want to say thank you to the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff here for inviting me for tonight, and I want to thank you for everything you all done in the posse and all the amazing groups, especially you guys with the fires we had and the hours upon hours working. Some of these guys barely got enough sleep just to go back on shift and volunteering and continuing. It's just absolutely amazing. You talk about Meridian, you talk about Sutter and the number of calls. The sheriff, they do such an amazing job, but it also takes the community to help in doing that amazing job too, as an assist. And that assist could be, if you see something, make the phone call. Last week, we had a horrible incident happen here, and those 2 individuals were brought to justice by these men and women here tonight. 0 help from the public, and they need that help. We need to reach, something like that happens, the public, you see something bad happening, make the phone call, help out. You take a license plate down. I'm not saying to chase someone down, but write a license plate down, get a make and color of the car, and give them a hand. All right, they put their lives at risk every day going out there and finding these bad guys and making this community a safer place. And I think it's a wonderful place we live in. It's because the men and women of this department and the city and the PD. So absolutely amazing job. With that being said, I did have a few questions that were sent in, and one of the main questions was a truck ordinance. Is there an ordinance about trucks parking in the vicinity, in the residential areas of Sutter and so forth? This is a very long answer here, but there is an ordinance, and there are rules against it. And I'm going to post that on my Facebook page, and hopefully people will share it so you can read it. It's a full page long, but there is questions for those. I'll give a little short answer. Truck and trailers shall not be parked on property or the street. So, like I said, the answers, I'm going to post that, and you can look that up. Another few questions I've had one question, is there a noise ordinance? Yes, there is a noise ordinance. It was put in, I believe, in 2019. So if someone were to call and complain, there is a noise ordinance. One of these deputies would show up and say, hey, we had a complaint. You need to knock it off. Had another question of fireworks and so forth. Fireworks are going off and so forth throughout the night, 2 or 3 in the morning. It's not 4th of July. Once again, that is an ordinance against that. If you were to get called on, one of these wonderful men or women are going to show up, and if you get caught, you will be cited. So we have a big deal going on with all these forest fires and a lot of dry brush out there. We don't need any more of that. We don't need anyone accidentally shooting some off and hurting someone or starting some big fire. It's very dangerous and it is against the law. Last question. Trees and brush. My neighbor has a bunch of trees in the backyard. I'm very afraid that if something were to ignite or something happen, someone burning a fire pit down the street, an ember were to fly over and land in the tree, because it feels like there's a jungle back there. Is there an ordinance prohibiting that? There is no ordinance prohibiting how many trees or shrubs you grow on your property. But if it could be a code enforcement violation if they are dry or if it could catch fire. So once again, I will have a contact on my Facebook page for that as well. We always ask, you always do the friendly good neighbor and ask the neighbor, hey, would you mind before it gets to that? And then, of course, you could reach out and get a hold of code enforcement. That's what we're there for. Want to keep things safe, but thank you very much. Couple things one thing I wanted to reach out is they are still hurting for feed supplies, pet supplies, and so forth, for these animals that they are bringing down from the hills that have brought down. They are taking donations of that. That would help out, get a hold of someone from the posse. I'm currently working with Doug Keeling on a community adopted neighborhood / roadway. Very excited. Recology is lending a hand in this. This could be big. It all started with guy walking down the street, seeing trash, and said, you know what, I'm going to go pick up a trash bag and go and see how much trash I can pick up. Filled up a whole 30-gallon in about 30 minutes, him and his son. And something we've been talking about for a while now. And I said, Doug, I think that's a great idea. As supervisors, we were talking about possibly every 2 months, we'd shift it around to different supervisors' districts and hand out the supplies, the trash bags and extenders and gloves and help clean up the roadways. And the cool thing is, Doug said, you know what, ever since I did that, it's staying cleaner. And people are noticing that. With that being said, I also want to give a shout out to Say Love and some of our amazing other organizations for keeping the roadways clean. Absolutely amazing. It makes a difference. And it's not just here in Sutter County, it's all over. They will call us up and say, hey, do you have a particular area you want that needs to be picked up? And we'll say, yeah, we have right here by the airport or in the 3rd district, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, 5th. And they'll make it happen. And all the amazing sponsors that have sponsored the lunches for those, outstanding. We've had a lot of road work being done in the 3rd district. All right. I know it's a pain in the rear. You have Butte House, you have Highway 20, but please follow the speed limit signs. Do not speed up through those. No passing. Please obey the laws. It's very dangerous. I know me personally, I had a rock hit my windshield, called in. Caltrans, very easy, taken care of, simple. But obey those laws. I will do my best to post on my Facebook page the days that the roads are being shut down. The contractor's been very nice with us here in the county roads. I reached out to Caltrans on 20, but that's the state. So, but once again, obey the laws, be safe. Let's see here, going down my notes here. But once again, I just want to thank everyone. And we all love Sutter County. We all want to see it continue to be better and better. And we're going to do our best to make it better and better. And when you reach out to us, and almost every event that I'm a part of, I look over and there's Andre and or the sheriff or the undersheriff or Daisy in her amazing, the coloring contest, great idea. And it brightens everyone's day up, to see that stuff and to see you guys around at the events and so forth. And we're going through this horrific pandemic of COVID, which is another pain in the rear. But I applaud everyone through getting through this, and I applaud you guys for coming out with these little art contests to help our kids get through it. It's really neat. In closing, I have a Facebook page. My cell phone number is there. It's on the county website. I hope I do a good enough job of getting back on the emails or the calls. If you have any questions or any statements you want to say anything, get some off your chest, I'm always open. Call me. Love to talk. And I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor. Just a quick follow-up comment. You were talking about the fireworks. And one thing I just kind of wanted to make everyone aware, when I took office, we really understood that, there were concerns about those. And so we made a conscious effort to go out in the first year. We had some success, but it's challenging because you actually have to see it happen in some respects, or somebody has to make a citizen's arrest. And so I don't remember how many sites we wrote the first year, but this last year, again, we had everybody from our operations captain all the way down out working that night. And so I think it was 34 citations that we actually issued this year, and I think those are $1,000 fines. And while 34 doesn't sound like a lot, I kind of want to put that in perspective for everybody real quick. So when you actually go out and you make the contact, you have to get the person's identifying information. In some instances, you have to at least get a witness or perhaps a reporting party's information. You have to actually seize the fireworks. You have to issue the citation, and then you have to work in cooperation with the fire department to dispose of the fireworks and drop those off. That can take 20, 30 minutes, for an officer to do that. And so when you think about, how many calls for service can you actually do between, say, 8 p.m. and midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning when those things are going off, when you put it in that perspective, 34 is kind of a lot, when you're thinking it's 20, 30 minutes at a time. And so I think real good job by our staff this year on that. We recognize, the challenges it provides, the impact it has on animals. We're going to continue to have a zero tolerance on that and do everything that we can in the years to come to try to improve on those numbers as well.
I'd like to say one more thing. There's one thing I'd like to talk about. About a month ago, we had a vandalism, about 2 months ago, of the monument in the Sutter Buttes. And just most recently, about a week ago, we had a vandalism of the Larry Munger Park right there by the bike trail in Sutter. So just want to let you know, if you are caught, you will be prosecuted to the full extent. All right? This is unacceptable, and we will not accept any of our monuments or parks being defaced here in Sutter County. Thank you very much.
So now I'd like to defer to Sergeant Gill. He's one of our supervisors in our investigations unit. There have been pretty significant investigations out in Sutter and Meridian over the course of the last 6 months or so, and he's going to highlight just a couple of those. One, as we all know, was the very tragic death of someone last week out in that district, and he's going to touch on that real briefly. Unfortunately, we probably can't say a lot more about that case than what's already been reported in the media. But again, if you're not aware of it, we'll provide you just a little bit of information so that you are. So, Sergeant?
Yes. Thank you, Sheriff. So essentially, we follow up on felony cases. Like the Sheriff said earlier, you may not see us in uniform or a patrol car, but we are out there. We're making contacts, conducting surveillance, doing probation parole searches, and that sort of thing, making sure sex offenders are in compliance. And with that said, as you're all aware of the homicide that occurred last Thursday in District 3, deputies responded to the area of Howlett Avenue in Markley for a unconscious subject that basically resulted from some sort of physical altercation. Deputies arrived on scene within minutes, rendered aid to the best of their abilities, got him transported to Right Out. The victim never did gain conscious and died at the hospital. During that night, detectives came out. We had very little information, very vague description of a vehicle, limited suspect information. Detectives worked 3 days straight and were able to develop information, followed up every lead, and were able to arrest 2 individuals and able to obtain a lot of evidence. So those 2 individuals are currently in our jail.
I just wanted to comment on that, for those of you watching, but also to Sergeant Gill and his staff. And I know that, Lieutenant Grassi's not here, but certainly include him in his leadership as well. To go to that type of scene and have very limited information, nothing more merely than a vehicle description and some vague descriptions of suspects, which, in this instance could be as simple as, saying it's a white male adult, approximate age, height, weight, that kind of thing. To go from having that very limited information to making 2 arrests within 3 days is just phenomenal work by you and your staff. And I'm thankful. I know the community's thankful. I know, having worked investigations in the past, how challenging those types of cases are. And just to be able to accomplish that much in 3 days, I know that you guys had very limited sleep and you were working well into the night. And so I just thank you guys for your efforts on that. My condolences to the family. Any senseless loss of life like that is always a tragedy. And so I'm glad you guys were able to do your job and see that, resolved, and hopefully that will assist the family in moving through some closure as this progresses. But just phenomenal work by you guys, and I thank you for that. And I know the community will thank you as well. So good job.
Thank you.
Do you have more you wanted to share?
Yes, we had a bunch of notable cases, but one that community will be really happy about is a couple of months ago we were having a group of individuals. They were going out and basically just stealing all kinds of outgoing mail, and whatever had a outgoing check, they were washing it to basically put their name or a third-party name, and then putting in a higher amount. And they definitely were taking advantage of the COVID-19 with the facial covering, going into stores, going into banks, and cashing these checks. So a lot of these cases came out of District 3. We were able to develop some lead and get this group of individuals. A lot of search warrants were served, and we were able to arrest 4 individuals. And since then, we haven't really had a lot of the property crimes related to mail theft, identity theft, come across my desk. So I think that was good to put those guys away. And lastly, I just want to say, like Supervisor Ziegemeier said, if you see something, please call us. If you want to remain anonymous, call our dispatch, have them patch you through our detective secretary. Detective can call you, and you can remain anonymous and give the information. So,
Great. Thank you for the update. We appreciate that. Deputy Lacone, you have some stuff you'd like to share.
Good evening, everyone. I have a couple of things I'd like to discuss. First, to build on what Supervisor Ziegenmeier and Detective Sergeant Gill both said, in terms of reporting crimes and contacting the Sheriff's Office, one of the things that we've done in the South County area, especially Beat 10, is really grow our Neighborhood Watch program. So with that said, I would invite everybody that is in the area to think about that. If you have questions on a Neighborhood Watch program, reach out to me. You can call or email. And it's a wonderful communication tool to help improve communication both to the Sheriff's Office, but also from the Sheriff's Office to the community. So please reach out to us. Let's get something set up, get something established, and improve your community in terms of safety and communication both. Second thing that I'd like to build on what Supervisor Ziegenmeier said, in terms of semi-trucks and vehicles and trailers parking out in the area of Sutter, I realize there's an ordinance in place. There's also some vehicle code authority sections that prevent vehicles of that nature from traveling in the community of Sutter. So if there's a truck route, the vehicle can travel there, and there are spatial limitations for those vehicles, those limitations being the length of the vehicle. So if it's a single trailer vehicle, like a large refrigerator trailer truck, those can be limited in length to no more than 65 feet. If they're doubles or not triples, but doubles like gravel trailers, things like that, then it's 75 feet, and those vehicles can travel on the roadway. If they're any larger than that, they can't travel on any roadway unless it's marked specifically as a truck route by DOT. So that not only just the parking thing, but there's also some enforcement aspects that we can utilize if they're traveling on those roadways within the community of Sutter. And then I believe there was a question regarding marijuana issues or grows or reporting of those. Those issues are handled by Sutter County Code Enforcement, but we also work with them to assist them in terms of safety when responding to those types of calls. Primary reporting would be to code enforcement, but if one of those issues or there's a perception or a belief that there might be an illegal grow, you can also report that to me and I will forward that to code enforcement for further investigation.
Good, thank you, Andre. And I would just point out that, as you probably just surmised there, and people probably can pick up on, one of the benefits of having you be a community response officer is, again, that flexibility. And so, if there's a challenge or a problem with, truck and trailer parking, Andre, he can go have the time to research that, go out, address it, and it doesn't pull a deputy off the street from patrol. Conversely, if code enforcement needs an officer to go out with them, Andre, he can divert and show the flexibility to go out and assist them. And so he's really become a jack of all trades in that respect. So he's always available to you, as are our community service officers. So if you have a particular problem like that, please reach out to him or to us, and we will get you connected with Andre, and we'll help you start working the problem in your specific community. So I think those were all kind of the comments we had. Now, we did have some questions that we wanted to address, and I don't know that we've heard from the undersheriff yet, so maybe I'll defer to him with the first question, and he can share that with us.
The quiet one. So first of all, I would like to give a shout out to some of the young adults and young kids in District 3. Supervisor had mentioned the art project that Daisy put together, and I know Paige has been helping out, but I got to see a few of those, and including, I believe, Supervisor's job. But they all look great. So that's definitely going to be a challenge, whoever's going to vote for them, because I think they all were pretty much top notch. So the Sheriff wanted to talk about our staffing levels and some of the stuff that we've been doing to try to improve those. So, I can give you guys numbers, like patrol right now, we have 8 positions that we're missing. Dispatch, we're missing 4, and our corrections and jail, we're missing 2. But working wise, talk about working shortage. So, patrol is actually working 15 short because, we have 2 in training, we have 2 in the academy, we have medical, we have injuries, things like that occur. Dispatch is down 5 actually because of injuries, and corrections is actually down 9. So those numbers seem pretty big. They are, but we're really doing a good job on improving and our staffing levels, and it has been better since Sheriff took office, and it's continuing to improve. The reason why it's improving is because of process and recruitment and some things that we've made some changes. So the first thing I want to say is we'll talk about is recruitment. So recruitment's always tough. I will say it, and board supervisor is going to be here, but when it comes to pay, Sutter County is not the highest paid sheriff's department in the area. We're probably one of the lowest, if not the lowest in our area. So pay is tough. That does make it a challenge for recruitment. But I think with environment, investing in our local people, people that want to put back into the community, has been a big asset to us where our recruitment is improving. The other part of that, to be honest with you, is you folks and the community of Sutter. A big recruitment tool that I have found out from people is the support that we get from you folks. As we all know, looking through social media and news and so forth, law enforcement and social injustice is a little on edge right now. And so to be able to work in a community where the community's got your back is huge. And so that has been a big recruitment tool, and I appreciate it. I commend you guys for that, and I ask that you continue to do that because that is a big help for me. Second of all, the thing we have improved on is our hiring process. So hiring is tough. You have backgrounds. Backgrounds can take months. We can't just hire just anybody. We got to make sure they can pass a background. We got to be able to hire people that we're going to be able to represent our community. So that takes time. Medical, psych, hiring process, interviews. It could take a long time. And so when I first started getting into this with Sutter County, there was times when it would take up to a year to hire someone. And that was something that I knew that we needed to stop. So I will give a shout out to our HR because we have worked well together and we have improved that hiring process where we have cut it at least to half, if not more. And so that has been a big asset because if you wait too long, then people go elsewhere. So it's been good. A shout out to our background investigators. We have 3 that they get on it and they work hard on it and they do a good job. And so they have helped that process. We have changed some avenues when it comes to hiring. We have lowered our age requirement for a correctional officer. You can now be 18 years old. Thank you for the sheriff for pushing that for us. That helps us. You know, you have someone that's out of high school and maybe college isn't for them and they don't know where they want to do and maybe military is not for them. And so, you know, maybe they want to come and try to be a correctional officer and we can build them and then maybe come to the streets, you know, when they're 21. So that gives them a good 4 years, depending on how long they want to wait to get some experience. So we have made that change, you know, as long as you can show maturity and that you're going to, you know, represent us well, you know, we'll look at that. And we've actually hired a young kid. He was just turned 19, but he was at 18 when we were starting the process and he was actually a cadet with us. And so process is working. We've also created, and thank you again to the sheriff, he supported me on this, create a recruit position. We'll start sponsoring some people in the academy. Now, with that, we put it out there, we apply, but we also look at our local people. So we have 2 in the academy right now. One was a cadet with us, lives here local. One was a current probation officer and then wanted to come over to the streets. She lives here, she's local, and you know, her family's here. So they're going to invest, they're going to stay with us. They care about the community. That's where that proactivity comes in because they're not just here working because they want to be cops, they want to do fun stuff. They really want to put into the Sutter County effort to being safe and sound. So that's a big key, and we've been pushing that. So that's been good. Also, other avenues to be able to hire. We have opened up now. So let's say we can't process you as a recruitment, but you want to go in the academy yourself. You can still apply. We'll hire you while you're in the academy. And so there's those options as well. So again, I'm going to kudos to the sheriff because we just have to think outside the box, invest in our people, think about other ways to recruit because, you know, we can't put just the dollar signs up because that's where we'll lose. And it has been successful. You know, when I first came here, I think patrol was down like 15 positions, probably working 25 short. I mean, it was crazy how short we were. And it has improved tremendously. And so, so our hiring is doing better, and I'm going to give kudos obviously to the sheriff and our staff for everything they do, but also back to you folks as our community because that I promise you that is a huge recruitment tool. When I have people that say, yeah, I could go make a lot more money elsewhere, but I don't have the support that I have here, knowing you know that if I'm a deputy and I'm out in Meridian and my backup is 30 minutes away and I get in a fight with 2 people, I'm going to have people from Meridian that are going to step in and help. And that is huge for us because I was a deputy at Coosa County, worked a long time. These guys know that, you know, when you're out there in the middle of, you know, nowhere and you have to handle something and you got to get in a fight with someone or something happens or whatever, and you know your cover's not away, it's nice to know you have community that will step in and help. So, make sure I caught everything on my notes there. Yeah, that's it. That's how we're doing on hiring.
Thanks, Scott. And I will say you keep giving me the kudos, but I got to tell you, I mean, this guy right here has been the driving force in pushing this in the right direction. And a lot of firsts, you know, for Sutter County under our administration. Again, first time ever we've created CSO, community service officer positions, and with the support of the board, we're able to hire. You know, quite frankly, I don't know that we could have got a better draw in the first round. I mean, these 2 ladies are absolute rock stars with their vision. And I know it's been mentioned a few times about the art project, and maybe everybody doesn't exactly know what that is. But we've got this wall in the conference room, and it's kind of blank. And I started thinking, you know, I really would like a nice picture of the buttes up there. And so I started kind of looking around online, and I found out that any of the pictures out there that were worth a dang were way out of my budget. So, you know, in talking with the staff, they said, well, why don't we have the kids paint the pictures of the buttes, and let's, you know, we'll buy the canvases and we'll do an art project and we'll have prizes for the winners. And so that was just off and running. And we've got some amazing pictures sitting in our office that we're actually going to take the time to grade next week. And we're doing that in conjunction with the Yuba Sutter Arts Council, and we're going to be able to display those and really just give back to our community and give back to our kids. And, it's those ideas outside of the normal handling calls for service and managing the jail and handling the dispatch lines. It's those things that I think really make us unique and special, and that comes from all of the staff. And, another first, sending 2 people to the academy that are local, that are invested in this community, invested in this county. And you know what? They want to better themselves. And, I don't know that in the history of Sutter County that we've ever actually paid to send someone to a police academy. Maybe we have, but it's the first that I can remember. And again, I just think that shows a lot about the direction that we're heading, the fact that we care about our employees. And I think it shows because we've just got some amazing talent right now. So my hat's off to the undersheriff for, driving those programs forward, working with HR, working with the board to see those things come to fruition. It's very appreciative. So thanks to you and Daisy and Paige. Thanks again for all your great ideas and the neighborhood watch stuff. Like Andre said, I think 4 in the South County. 6 now. So we have 6 in the South County in like the last 6 months that we've been able to develop out there. And that's with all of their work. So just amazing things happening right now at the Sheriff's Department. So just very honored to kind of work alongside all of these men and women. I will go ahead and take the next question. It's a little vague, and there's probably a little bit of a lengthy response, so I apologize. But it's, what things are being done to improve the Sheriff's Department? Well, I just spoke about a lot of those things, and hopefully if you're watching, you can see that there's a lot going on, and I think we're tracking in the right direction. But I will also share with you that in addition to that, we've added another part-time position to our finance unit, again, with support of the board, so I'm very appreciative of that. Our overall budget is, just around $32 million, and we've got one person assigned to finance, along with myself and the undersheriff who help with that. As you can imagine, that's a lot of work for one person, so we were able to add to that. I'm very appreciative of that. We're going through a complete policy revision. We're actually going to an electronic policy, and those are being vetted out right now, not only through our department, county council, and the Deputy Sheriff's Association, so we'll have that coming online here pretty quickly. Probably one of the things that I'm most proud of, we were able to secure in the first year, Central Square, which is a complete overhaul of all of our programs in the Sheriff's Department. So you have what you call a JMS, which is a jail management system. You have your dispatch and their screens, how they enter the information that comes in. We have a report writing module. We have an evidence module. Well, all of those things through the years, unfortunately, were purchased, and they're just separate things. This one solution will integrate everything, so it's all speaking the same language. And it's got some really slick features. So, for example, if the officer in the field were to use their cell phone to take a picture of a suspect and upload it, that photo could immediately be downloaded into dispatch or into the jail and be used as a booking photo. Same with photos of tattoos and different things like that. So there's a lot of good information. If dispatch enters somebody's name, the officer on the street would be able to pull that name up and integrate it into their report so they don't have to type it out all over again. A lot of time-saving measures, and that'll bring us into the 21st century. And so we're very proud to be working on that right now. That's supposed to go live here just after the first of the year. I think most people know that we opened our jail expansion project this last year. We added 42 additional beds, complete overhaul of our kitchen area, and a brand new medical facility in the jail. That's allowed us to provide a much higher level of service, specifically in the area of jail medical, which we have 24 hours a day at the jail. Additionally, we just purchased a scanner for the jail. It's a full body scanner. The way I describe this to most people is if you can envision when you go to the airport and you stand in the scanner and you put your hands up and it rotates around you. It's a very similar concept. And what that'll do is allow us to cut down on the amount of contraband that comes into the jail. And so we're very proud to have that. I will tell you that we're one of the only agencies in this immediate area that will have that piece of equipment. So again, another first for Sutter County. And then lastly, I kind of wanted to mention the development of our search and rescue team. We previously did not have one, or the portions of it we did were very fragmented. We had, our posse or our aero squadron, but we now have a true search and rescue team, and Andre is part of that as well. So if anybody's got any questions or if you want to comment, Andre, feel free. But we're building that from the ground up with a lot of help from some very skilled people. And my goal is, if you know me, I don't like to just do things. I like to do them very well. And so I want us to have the best team in the area, and that's the goal, and we're working towards that. So again, another first, just very proud of that. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention, for the benefit of everyone watching, we also this last year had our first annual report that we completed. If you have not seen that, it is available on our webpage. So just go to suttercounty.org for the Sheriff's Department, and you can see our annual report there. It'll give you an insight to all of our divisions. There's a lot more statistical data there. And just a good overview of all the work that we did during the first year. Very nice collage of some of the events that we attended and our interactions with the community. The cover of that, again, is a painting that was done by one of our department members. And if you, I think, turn to maybe page 4, there's actually a picture of her with that painting. And again, I think that just speaks to the level of talent that we have at the Sheriff's Department, not only in providing law enforcement services, but, outside of that. And, one of the things I was thinking about when the undersheriff was talking about, recruitment and things like that, we kind of have a philosophy, and even when we're evaluating our own staff, I can see what you do for 40 hours a week, but I want to know what you do beyond that. Do you volunteer in your community with Say Love or, some of these other things that Supervisor was speaking about? Do you coach Little League? Those things all speak to your character, I think, and they also speak to you physically being invested in the community. And if you're doing those types of things outside of work, that tells me that you're here for the long haul. And just those little adjustments, I think, have really helped us kind of stabilize the organization and get some quality people. And so I will tell you, as your sheriff, I'm very proud of the direction that we're heading. I am very proud of the work of the men and women of the Sheriff's Department. And I think we have a very bright future if we continue along this path. So I'm just very thankful for that. That's the end of that question. I think there was one for Sergeant Gill. Would you like to take one?
The question was, what kind of trainings do detectives get? Basically, newly assigned detectives usually get a lot of training from senior investigators. But some of the mandatory trainings we send them to is homicide school, crime scene investigation, sexual and physical assault, fingerprint analysis, and there's some others out there like CSVA and then financial crimes. So all that can really use total well over 400 to 500 hours.
Great, thank you. As a former detective, I can tell you that it's probably one of the more rewarding assignments because you have time to work those cases all the way through, and you actually get to interact more with those that are being victimized and making sure that they get the services they need. So it's very rewarding, and we have a very good investigative unit here at the Sheriff's Department, as cited earlier in the work that they did over that 3-day period. So thank you for the work that they do. Undersheriff, I think there was a question, if I'm not mistaken, that you were going to handle about some of the things if somebody wanted to volunteer at the Sheriff's Office.
I have that question ready. But I will actually, though, Mira, or go off of that question for that comment for detectives. I got to also give a shout out to our detective unit because because of staffing levels, we're running short, and so one of our detectives got promoted to sergeant, which congrats to Zach Berg if he's listening. And so we have not filled that spot in detectives. We're making these guys run short, so they're working extra hours and so forth. So even solving that case running short is pretty phenomenal. And so just another little shout out to you over there, Sarge. You guys are doing a great job. Sheriff, wanted me to talk about volunteers with the Sheriff's Department. How can you volunteer and help us out? So there's a couple programs that we have. Unfortunately, with COVID, it has put a delay on it. We were going strong with our citizen volunteer program. We did the Citizens Academy. We actually had some people apply for us. We were building it. We were going to start doing more with them. And then COVID hit. And that limited where we could get their access and so forth. But hopefully, as we knock on wood and do everything we need to do, hopefully this COVID will resolve itself soon. And then we'll be able to get back to that. But with that said, you can still put in applications for volunteers, any age, it doesn't matter. We utilize them in all kinds of things, whether it's vacation checks, where they're just driving around and they're checking residents for people that are on vacations, and if they see anything suspicious, they call deputies. I have thoughts of using them, even assisting, like even detectives, roadway blocks. I mean, there's a lot of things that volunteer programs could be used for, records, I mean, you name it. And so we're hoping to use those more and build that program as COVID comes to a halt, hopefully soon. We also have a cadet program, and that's a program that you join when you're in high school, all the way up to, I believe you're 21. I believe that's the age. Is that correct? Yeah, 21. And that program it's volunteer basis. It is kind of a program where a lot of times you get joined into because you want to come into law enforcement, and we will look at hiring people out of our cadet program. Again, like I said, we just hired a kid that was a cadet with us in the jail, and then one of our recruits, Cody, was a cadet with us, and now he's in the academy. But you don't necessarily have to want to be in law enforcement. And I'm just going to give you an example. Where I came from, I put some years in over at the Goodley Police Department. We had a cadet program, and my daughter did it. My oldest daughter did it, and she did not want to be a cop. Did not want the cop whatsoever. She did it for the volunteer basis. She wanted to be able to do other stuff to help out, put that on her college resume and so forth. And you absolutely can do that. We use our cadets for traffic control, all kinds of different projects and stuff as well. And you don't necessarily have to want to be a street cop. I mean, you can be a cadet and want to be a dispatcher, and you can sit in a dispatch and help out with there, or be a corrections, or maybe you want to come in and look at records. And there's so many different avenues in the sheriff's department. So being a cadet, you don't just have to think, I'm going to be a cadet and I'm going to be a cop. And so, but you can still do it to volunteer your time. So, so those are great programs that we have put together. But then again, I'm just going to do another shout out for volunteer. Volunteering can also just be as simple as making phone calls and just being a part of the community and helping us out. So sometimes you don't have to be a part of the volunteer program and still be a volunteer for us. You know, when we have things that happen, it's nice just to come and show our support. Sheriff just mentioned trunk or treat. You know, so reach out to Sergeant Green. Maybe there's candy you want to donate for that, or maybe you guys want to just come and, you know, show our support and be a part of that. Just things like that help us out as well. So, but that's the volunteer programs that we have at this time. Leave that.
Thank you. I'm going to take a question here. We had one about concealed weapon permits and what the process is and whether or not we were doing that right now with some of the COVID restrictions. And so the answer is yes, we are doing that. We're trying to limit contact at the front counter, so we're asking everyone to go onto our website. There you can register through a program called Permitium. It's all pretty self-explanatory. It walks you right through it. You just have to enter your information into the system. It is nice because it does allow you to use your credit card to actually pay for the processing and the permit itself. So I would encourage everyone to try to use that. Right now, if you're not in possession of a permit and you're starting from scratch, the total length of the process is about 2 months. Primarily because you have to get live scan and we have to wait for those results to come back from the Department of Justice. And so that's kind of the overall length of it. Now, if it's just a renewal, it can be as easy as, taking care of that in about 2 weeks. And we do ask that right now you contact Lieutenant Maples and you make an appointment to come in and do your renewal, primarily because, again, we have to maintain social distancing in the lobby, and we like to schedule the appointments so that we have time to, wipe down the counters and things like that afterwards and follow the sanitation guidelines. But he is available, and yes, we are doing that. The other question that comes up pretty frequently is, during COVID, are you allowing people to come in and either add or subtract firearms from the permit? The answer to that is yes, we are. Again, we just ask that you do that by appointment, and shouldn't have any issues. Obviously, carrying concealed is something that not only I, but we as a department support. And so, if that's something you choose to do, you have our full support in that. And so, any questions, you can feel free to email either me or Lieutenant Maples, and we're pretty good about responding back to everybody in a timely manner. But again, try to get on Permitium. It's pretty slick, and it's actually reduced a lot of the time that our staff and records have had to dedicate to that. So we're thankful for technology in that respect. That's kind of, there's one more question, but I was going to actually defer. Did we have anything come in online, or were there any questions that needed to be addressed? No? Well, we have about 5 more minutes, so I've got another question that came into me, and I'll just go ahead and respond to that. And the question was, what type of regulations do you have for the jail? And so I will tell you that, as a former jail commander, the jail I always explain it to people like this. They say, well, what's it like to be, running the jail? And the easiest way to describe it is it's like running a small city. You're essentially the mayor of a small city. And when I say that, it's because, you have a population. It's a population that you have to provide services for. You also have to worry about, their education, their medical. You have to provide a grocery store, essentially, a commissary, recreation, all of those things. And so it's a challenge. And there are regulations that we're required to follow to do that. The regulations generally, as I like to say, they're the minimum standards. We strive to exceed those minimum standards in most cases. But Title 15 is really, if you were to look on the Board of State and Community Corrections webpage, the Title 15 regulations are there, and that covers everything from, how the jail should be operated, how much exercise time someone should get, how frequently, they should be allowed visitation. All of those types of things are covered there. I will also tell you that if you're interested and you go to the Board of State Community Corrections webpage as it pertains to COVID, there is a dashboard there. As I recall, the last time I looked at it, the icon to click onto that is on the right-hand side, but it'll give you kind of a breakdown of, all of the different counties and whether or not their staff and or their inmates have, contracted COVID. We've been very fortunate, but it's also a lot of hard work by our jail staff, our captain and our lieutenant, and them managing that population. So big thank you to them and their sergeants and all of our correction staff for the work they're doing. The other thing is health inspections. We are required to be inspected by the health department, and part of that includes as well nutrition guidelines for the meals that we serve. And so that takes place annually. Fire inspections as well. We have to be inspected by the state fire marshal. And then lastly, as I'm sure everyone knows, we get looked at annually by the grand jury, and they generate a report and make recommendations for ways to improve. And I will tell you that that's something that we welcome. If we have a blind spot, we want to know about it, and we want to work to get better and improve upon it. And I think we showed that over the last couple of years in how we responded to those reports. So in terms of regulations, those would be the things that we would be required to follow as it pertains to maintaining and operating a jail. So I think we are closing in on the hour. I'll maybe just kind of defer around the panel here for closing comments. But I will say, as your elected sheriff, how truly honored I am to hold that position. I don't take it for granted. I come to work every day with a smile on my face, and I'm generally excited about the work that we're going to do. And not all days, are great. There are challenging decisions that have to be made sometimes. But I'm just very thankful and grateful for the opportunity to serve this community. And again, I think we're absolutely trending in a very positive direction. And I think that's reflected when you have people calling you saying, gee, I'd really like to come work there. I think that tells you that you're heading in the right direction. And so with that, I will just say thank you. I hope that everyone has enjoyed this format. I realize it's not as personable as it could be. We're hoping after the first of the year, we'll be able to get back out and actually, spend a little more quality time with people. But we do have a few of those events that we're going to have at the Sheriff's Department where we'll be able to maintain some social distancing and interact. So please look for those on our social media pages. Please come by and spend some time with us. We look forward to that. And with that, I will defer to the Undersheriff. Do you have any closing comments?
Yeah, actually I do. When it comes to this meeting, I would like, we didn't get a lot of questions, which is fine, and that's totally good. We got a few. This will be recorded, and it's going to be put on our website, and it'll be on our Facebook page, so you can rewatch it. Feedback would be great. We're trying to think outside the box, and I'm going to give kudos to the sheriff for, trying to find ways to be able to reach out to all of our community members and do it with COVID, trying to stop us. And he didn't let it stop us. And so feedback on how we can make this better until we can start seeing you guys personally. We plan on hitting other districts and continuing this. So if we didn't advertise enough, if you didn't see it, or, anything that you think that we can improve this event, please do. So you can do it through our website. You can do it through our social media. I know that, Sarah Davis's email's on there. You can send questions to her if you have suggestions about how we can improve this for future. But again, just, this is for you folks. We want to find ways to be able to reach out to you guys and and be able to hear you. And this is the best way to do it, so we're not causing any issues with COVID. So please send us that stuff and watch the recording. It should be on our website hopefully by Monday, maybe earlier than that. But, just pay attention to it and watch it. Other than that, a huge thank you. And again, I'm just going to go back to, it is huge that we know that our community has our back. When you always hear that comment, watch your six, or I have your six. It is so nice to know that our community has our six. And we ask that you guys continue that for us, and we will do the same for you.
Supervisor?
Oh, I just want to thank you all again for inviting me out to this. And I want to thank our staff. We have Scott, we have Liz here, we have Sarah back here. And I don't think in the team of, over 1,000 that work here in Sutter County, just an amazing team. And that's how this whole thing is put together. I want to thank the amazing people, wonderful people of Sutter County, and the staff that works with the county. And thank you very much. Thank you. And like the sheriff said, we all can't wait till we get back to these town halls. We had a couple town halls in the district. They were amazing. They were at every single one. We'll get back to that once we get through this whole COVID nonsense. Thank you.
Yeah, he didn't mention, but I know the undersheriff's a hugger, and this is kind of killing him right now. So, Andre, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I just have a few things I wanted to mention before we close tonight. To build on what the undersheriff had said about the cadet program, we do have that available. That's for individuals who are 16 to 21. We will also extend that age requirement, or age limitation, if you will. If the individual's participating in the police academy or the Corps Academy, we can extend that out so that they can maintain activity within the department while they're continuing their education to further their law enforcement career. Recently, at one of the neighborhood watch meetings in Beat 10, we had some individuals inquire as to what a close patrol was or a vacation check, and those are services that we offer at no cost. If you feel that maybe there's something suspicious or uneasy, or you just want a little extra attention from our department, you can call and request a close patrol of your residence or your general area, and we can make sure that a deputy goes by there a few times throughout their shift, be it day or night. And then if for some reason you're going to be away from home, you can request a vacation check, and that will allow someone to come out to your house in your absence, make sure everything is secure, check on it daily, make sure everything is in order. If anything is suspicious or out of place, we'll contact you immediately and let you know, make you aware of that. And then last but not least, much as the undersheriff said, we're always trying to think outside the box and be creative, especially with COVID and everything that's going on right now. And starting this week, one of the things I'll be doing is visiting schools, which I would normally be doing in person. And with limitations in terms of distance learning, I'll be visiting with teachers and participating in their Zoom calls to contact their students, and visit with them on the Zoom calls while they're doing some teaching as well.
Thank you. Sarge, any closing comments?
Yes, I just want to thank the sheriff and the undersheriff and the command staff for putting on this online forum to provide this important info to the public.
Great, thank you. And my closing comment is, again, I just want to thank my staff for taking time away from their families and in some respects coming in on their days off to participate in that. That means a lot to me that you would do that. Also, thank you to our IT staff who's here making all this work tonight. And thank you to Supervisor Ziegemeyer for taking time away from his family to come be with us. And hopefully you found this beneficial. Feel free to contact us at the Sheriff's Department. You can reach us through our webpage via email, and or you can call the office and ask to speak to any one of us at any time. So thank you and good night, and we will see you out there. Have a good night.